Hello. Mic testing. Can you hear me? Hello.
I was thinking that we have a
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Dear participants, we will be starting the inauguration in next 2 minutes.
So, David,
Oh,
Namaskar, sir. Manoj Tiwari.
yes, good evening, good morning.
Yes, sir. Same thing. Good morning, sir. And hope that everything is fine at your side, sir.
Yes, everything is fine and ready for the class. And what about in your side?
Yeah, here also everything is fine, sir. Actually, we will start very soon, as as our student coordinator mentioned. So, sequence is that first they will talk about the course, sir, and then presentation, and then after that, myself and Professor Jain will speak for 5 minutes. And then you have to speak around 10 minutes, sir, about course. Then we have one keynote speaker. He will, Mr. Saurabh Tiwari will speak. And at the end only, sir, 7 minutes, our Honorable Secretary, sir, will come and he will finally conclude that thing, sir. After that, we give a break, sir, and then regular class will start, sir. Okay, sir?
Sure.
Yeah. So this inaugural session will basically hover around 45, 50 minutes to an hour, sir, maximum, sir. Okay, sir?
Yes,
Yeah.
sounds good.
So how is weather at your side, sir, at present?
It is beautiful. Right now, it's beautiful. What about in your place?
Yes, pretty rain, sir. Very heavy rain here in Bombay, sir, at present.
I
But
see.
yeah.
Right now, it's very beautiful, but we hear that we will have a heavy heat wave next week.
Already. This prediction is by machine learning, sir, or by simple weather forecasting
I
method?
think the weather the simple weather forecasting technology.
I said, since sir you are there, so hope that I think you have assisted them also with some good methods to carry out and do more accurate predictions.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, a lot of machine learning is used in
Yeah.
forecasting today.
Yeah. Once I heard Professor David somewhere around a large number of means few 100 parameters they are using actually to do these predictions.
Yeah, exactly.
So nice. So I think
So good evening, Professor Tiwari.
Yes, namaskar, sir. Namaskar, Jain sahab, namaskar.
How are you?
I am very fine,
Professor
sir.
Levi.
Hello.
Professor David, PK Jain, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, good evening. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, sir?
I'm good, sir. Good.
So, Professor Jain, you reached just now, sir? I think few minutes back, or what time, sir?
Just read 30 minutes back, actually.
Yeah.
It was heavily raining in Delhi, so flight was delayed by
Oh. Yeah. So, So Professor David actually, yesterday we both were at Delhi, Jain Sahab and me. Then he started today from there. And I reached in the night itself, actually, correct? Yeah.
Nice.
Chalo.
Anyway, congratulations, Professor Tiwari, for your NIRF ranking this time.
Thank you, sir. I
Top,
think,
top 10,
yeah.
and I hope you will climb further up.
Actually, in this rank, David has a lot of contribution because his classes became so popular that outside, so our somewhat both the outreach and others have increased significantly.
Yeah.
And for that, I owe this much to him also because his association has led to some very good reputation to the institute, actually, sir. Correct.
What is this award that you got?
Actually, we went there. There is a ranking system for the educational institution called National Institute of Ranking Framework, NIRF. So under that, in the category of management, sir, yesterday we have been ranked in the top 10. 9th rank was there, sir. So that is what we are talking. Sir. Okay.
Congratulations. Very nice. Very impressive.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. So now I think we should start, sir, with your permission, Jain Sahab. Start.
Yeah, please.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Please.
Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome to the inaugural session of the Global Online Certification course on Data-Driven Supply Chain Transformation 2022. On the behalf of NITIE Mumbai and IIT BHU Varanasi, I would like to thank all dignitaries, faculty, and course participants for gracing us with their presence on this occasion as we embark on a 1-month-long journey of learning. Today, we have with us Honorable Chief Guest, Shri Sanjay Murthy IAS, Secretary of Higher Education of India, and Mr. Saurabh Tiwari, Senior Director Supply Chain, SIPLA, as our keynote speaker. We also have with us our reputed and world-renowned course instructor, Professor David Simchi-Levi from Massachusetts Institute of Technology, USA, Professor Manoj Tiwari, Director, NITIE, and Professor Pramod Kumar Jain, Director, IIT BHU. NITIE is the premier B School for Management Studies in India, and Indian Institute of Technology, Varanasi is an institute of national importance. The institutes aspire to be the harbingers of modern interdisciplinary technological advancement in the country and are dedicated towards helping businesses make their presence felt globally. As data analytics is an integral part of modern management, this course will strive to provide participants with the foundation to understand and apply analytical methods to drive value for businesses. We thank everyone for giving such an overwhelming response for the course, and without further ado, I would now like to call upon Mr. Nishant Kumar Singh, student coordinator for the course, to give a brief about the institutes, the course, and its registration statistics.
Hello everyone. After the success of our previous course, NITIE and IIT BHU have launched a global online certification course on data-driven supply chain transformation 2022. Our instructors for this course are renowned professors, Professor David Simchi-Levi, Professor Manoj Tiwari, and Professor Pramod Kumar Jain. The course has been launched considering the emergence of digitization in supply chain to derive insights from data and make better decisions. NITIE was established in 1963 by the Government of India with a purpose to advance transformative education and industry-inspired research, thus helping Indian businesses to make their presence felt globally. It has proven its excellence by continuously being featured among India's best B schools and was ranked 9 amongst the management schools in India by National Institutional Ranking Framework, that is NIRF, in 2022. It is the leading institute of operations and supply chain management, and this is evident from the placement stats of the batch. NITIE attracted more than 100 recruiters for its final placement, with the average salary for the batch being 25.44 lakhs per annum. Thus, NITIE has aligned its vision and activities in line with the current and future needs of the Indian industries, making them vibrant and influential globally. Indian Institute of Technology, IIT BHU, is a public technical university located in Varanasi, Uttar Pradesh, India. Founded in 1919 as the Banaras Engineering College, it was designated as Indian Institute of Technology in 2012. The institution celebrated its centenary in the year 2019-20. It has proven its excellence by continuously being featured in India's best engineering college list and was ranked 13th among the engineering colleges in India by National Institutional Ranking Framework, that is NIRF, in 2022. The Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, has identified data analytics and predictive technology as one of the domain area of technology innovation hub under India's national mission on interdisciplinary cyber physical system. DST has identified IIT BHU Varanasi as one of the institutes for establishing technology innovative hub under this scheme. NITIE has successfully completed 5 versions of Global Online Certification course with Professor David Simchi-Levi. The course has received an overwhelming response with close to 6,000 participants from eminent organizations like Cipla, Micron, Tata Steel, L&T, Schneider Electric, IBM, and many more. Across the 5 courses, we have trained more than 700 students and faculty from prominent IIMs and IITs. I would like to highlight the success of our previous courses, where we have received an average rating of 4.6 out of 5 for teaching style, course execution, and the overall lecture experience. We will continue to add value to our participants through this course as well. After the success of previous courses, NITIE has launched this Need of the Hour course in collaboration with Professor David Simchi-Levi, considering the emergence of digitization of supply chain in today's technology-driven world. This is a 30-hour weekend-only course with focus particularly on topics such as digitization, analytics, production optimization, and integration of techniques. Introducing our course instructors, Professor David Simchi-Levi is the most renowned professor and thought leader in the field of analytics, operations, and supply chain management. He also serves as the editor-in-chief of Management Science. He is the recipient of the prestigious Informs Impact Prize 2022 for his work on supply chain resilience. Professor Manoj Tiwari is himself a stalwart in the operations and SCM domain, with over 320 plus publications in international journals. He is also the recipient of Most Influential Researcher Award in this domain. Professor Pramod Kumar Jain has a broad background in manufacturing systems and engineering, including product design and development. For his outstanding contribution to teaching and research, he has won accolades from several quarters such as University Prize, University Medal from IIT Roorkee, and Career Award for Young Teachers by AICTE. This course gained huge popularity among major business houses and supply chain leaders across the globe, and great recognition from various media houses such as the Economic Times and the Times of India. A student ambassador program was launched on Dare to Compete, where we had more than 250 applications. We selected a team of 16 student ambassadors from various eminent institutes like the IITs, IIMs, NITIEs, who gave their best in reaching out to the students, faculty, and alumni and making them aware of this initiative by NITIE and IIT BHU. 1,600 plus participants from all over the globe are going to be a part of this course. We have participants from more than 6 countries and 84 esteemed organizations, some of which are Micron, Cipla, L&T, Tata Steel, Flipkart, and many more. As evident, we have a diverse range of participants. We assure you that you will have a great learning experience in this course. Thank you, and over to Ayush.
Thank you, Nishant. Now I would like to call upon Professor Manoj Kumar Tiwari, Director NITIE, for the welcome address. Professor Tiwari is a higher academic grade professor from the Industrial Engineering and Systems Management Group at IIT Kharagpur, currently online at NITIE as director since 2019. His research interests have been supported by several industries along with national and international research funding agencies. He has published more than 341 papers in reputed international journals and is also the recipient of the Most Influential Researcher Award in the domain of operations and supply chain management. Director, sir, I kindly request you to share a few words.
I'm audible, I see.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
So first of all, let me express my heartfelt welcome and profound regards to our chief guest who will join soon because of his very pretty busy schedule. He may come in the end of our ceremony of inauguration. And our beloved Professor David Simchi-Levi, who does not require much introduction from anyone. And we have my long-standing friend and one of the leading academicians and researcher in the domain of both manufacturing and logistic professor P.K. Jain. And also we have a South African head of the supply chain of very famous company, a pharmaceutical Cipla, Mr. Saurabh Tiwari. So here actually this course was planned in wake of all such uncertainties and many worldwide developments, especially the after pandemic, there were a lot of disturbances in the market. And then eruption of this Ukraine-Russia conflict. And in this process, there were a lot of confusion about the actual demand assessments, problems of the shipper, and the kind of schedules are getting disrupted heavily from the outsourced goods and services. And also the major supplier of the low-cost items from the world like China and others, they are also facing a lot of problems because of the re-eruption of the pandemic in those countries. So keeping in this in mind and also the importance of data-driven technologies, it becomes essential for all of us to see that how the data-driven transformations are playing a big role in the domain of supply chain. And whenever we see some such kind of very emerging area, then we see the leading limelight that who has contributed a lot in this domain, then certainly due to our good luck and past relationship, Professor David is none other than anyone else who has that much command to link the different kind of supply chain problems, maybe the network design, maybe the different kind of push-pull strategies, inventory optimization, stock assessment, or even addressing the flexibility and resiliencies. So any one of these issues, the command which he is having because of his wider experience in the handling the problems of different companies. So he is the most apt one to handle such a course, and it is very much essential for Indian market and supply chains because that way the planner and practitioner both get a lot of advantage that how they can adjust the growing system of data-driven modeling so that they can take much advantage. Whereas we know very well that because of the pandemic, still the prices has not reached to the pre-pandemic level, and not bothering about the many inflation indices. How with marginal increase we can manage the overall supply chain cost at the low level. I think with this particular motto, this course is designed, and here our main target is that how we can have the improvement of the supply chain visibility, flexibility, and resiliency. In this context, I would like to say that one of the very famous article of Professor David that he publishes somewhere in the 2020, where he gave an idea that was very famous idea that how to build the resilient supply chain. And he also mentioned in the heading itself that it won't be easy. So there his worldwide famous idea of stress test, where the time to recovery and also the what you call time to survive, both the concept that he gave, that was unique, and then it has engulfed the entire analysis group who has taken this particular note to move ahead further. Then second article which he also gave recently, that was the simpler way to moderate the supply chains, and that was also published in HBR, and there also he gave a lot of idea that and predicted a lot of market scenarios actually that how supply chain performances can be improved. In between that, this is about the what are the most of the practical aspects that Professor David dealt having a lot of relevance with the current scenario. In addition to that, his what you call well-known book that we all know that in the supply chain domain, where designing and managing the supply chain, particularly the fourth edition one, that also covers a lot of newer topic, right from the digital twin to the control tower to all other things, where a lot of hints were about how the data transformation and data-driven transformations are prominently highlighted. So these are the things, but if you go and see Professor David's research contribution in recent, I'm not talking about because everybody knows that management science is one of the toughest journal. So, and he is heading as editor chief of that journal. So the kind of topic which he has published in the recent past in the FT 50 journals, particularly informs one. So, like say how the new approaches for vehicle routing with the stochastic demand, where he mentioned and he listed a very good research theme that combined the route assignment with the process flexibility. And just imagine in current scenario how much it is required, particularly for all these transportation systems, where we want to have a uncertainty in the demand and also the availability of the vehicles. And keeping that in mind, the formulations and modeling which he has covered, this most apt research actually which can easily be translated by the digital team to impart benefit to the company. Yeah, and another just you can see that how the offline pricing and demand learning with the sensor data kind of situations are there. There also he gave a lot of idea that how that data-driven technologies can be used nicely there. And I also know many of his work which are recently there in the fashion industry as well as in other CPG domains, which he has done to demonstrate this kind of application. So in our Indian firms and participants who are here, particularly the students and industry professionals, they will get a lot of new idea that how the trends of technology, particularly digitization, analytics, and automation, that is going to play a role actually. So with this note, I just want to say once again that this course is a joint mission between the IIT BHU, led by Professor P.K. Jain and NITIE Mumbai under the stewardship of Professor David Simchi-Levi, who is one of the well-known, renowned author, professor, and philosopher, and also a think tank with leading the think tank of scholars in the domain of supply chain. So with this note, actually now I think I put a stop here, and then I request RSIC to move further and then introduce Professor Jain so that he can. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I would like to call upon Professor Pramod Kumar Jain, Director at IIT BHU Varanasi. Professor Jain is the Director of IIT BHU Varanasi. He has a broad background in manufacturing systems and engineering, including product design and development. For his outstanding contributions to teaching and research, he has won several allocates from several quarters, such as University Prize and University Medal from IIT Roorkee, Career Award for Young Teachers by AICTE. Professor Jain is on the panel of several policymaking committees of national importance constituted by DST, CSIR, AICTE, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, and Ministry of Education. Sir, I kindly request you to share a few words with the participants.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
A very good evening to all of you. Chief guest of today's function, Mr. Sanjay Murthy, who will be joining us later on as informed by Professor Tiwari. Professor David Simchi-Levi, the renowned expert in supply chain management and main instructor of this course. Professor Tiwari, my longtime friend, and Mr. Saurabh Tiwari, all the participants and students. I think Professor Tiwari has already given the brief of the course with the objectives and the deliverables. I'll just talk something about how we both discussed about this course maybe 4 months back, and we could arrive at this topic and thought of launching another global online certificate course. Actually, as told by the student coordinator, we are having one project from DST that is on cyber physical systems, wherein we have 5 verticals. And 3 of the verticals, one deals with defense sector, another deals with healthcare systems, and the road transport network. And in these three verticals, we have supply chain management as the major, you can say, focus area. So we were talking, and then Professor Tiwari and myself thought, why not IIT BHU, Technology Innovation Hub of IIT BHU and NITIE, launch a program or a kind of global online certificate program on data-driven supply chain management systems, which will cover various aspects of these three verticals. And this will serve the mandate of our Honorable Prime Minister, that is PM Gatishakti program, because Prime Minister has given a mandate that we have to train enough manpower to handle our growing needs of supply chain management systems, because India is growing at very fast pace, and we know that our needs are also growing, and at the same time the supply chain networks are becoming more and more complex day by day, and that we have already seen during the pandemic. Actually, it was a supply chain network and the resilience of supply chains that we could maintain the supply of essential commodities during the lockdown period. And there was no scarcity, and everybody was able to get the desired and the required daily needs if because of the supply chain system that were in place. And because of that, I think the uncertainties associated with the supply chain networks, modeling simulation requirements, and the role played by artificial intelligence, machine learning, and data analytics these days is going to play a major role in maintaining and managing our supply chain network. And I think this course will help us to understand the intricacies of data-driven supply chain networks. It will help us to see how can the uncertainties be controlled, or we can take care of those uncertainties while trying to maintain our supply schedules and all those kind of things. And when Professor David Simchi-Levi is there, I think we will be able to understand all the intricacies and the, you can say, a thorough understanding of the topics and the concept under this program. And I thank NITIE Bombay, Professor Levy, and TIH IIT BHU, and of course my own institute IIT BHU, that we have come together. This is a multi-institutional approach, and that is what is required these days, that we have to participate, we have to collaborate, and we have to learn from each other. And I think this program will be a kind of path-breaking program in that sense. And this will also fulfill some of the objectives of PM Gatishakti program. And Ministry of Education is monitoring this program of the Prime Minister's office. And with this, I think we together, NITIE and IIT BHU, can do a lot in this domain. And I wish that all the participants will have good time. They will have good interaction with Professor Levy, Professor Tiwari, and other instructors. And they will, I think, will learn many more things. Thank you very much, Professor Tiwari. Thank you, Professor Levy, for joining us and agreeing to be part of this program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now I invite Professor David Simchi-Levi, our lead instructor of the course, for the keynote session. He is the professor for Business and Supply Chain Analytics and Director of Data Science Lab at Massachusetts Institute of Technology, USA. Professor Simchi-Levi funded Logic Tools, now a subsidiary of IBM, which provided software solutions and decision support systems to clients such as Caterpillar, ConAgra, Kraft Foods, amongst others. He later co-founded OPS Tools and Opaltics, which are now part of Accenture. Professor David had previously associated with NITIE for 5 global online certification courses on the domains of supply chain management and data analytics. The courses were highly successful, with over 6,000 plus participants from 13 plus countries. We welcome Professor David again, and we are honored to have this association with you, sir. Professor David Simchi-Levi, the stage is yours for the keynote speech.
Very much. Welcome, everybody. It's really a pleasure to be here. I want to thank And again, welcome Professor Manoj Tiwari and Professor Kumar Jain from IIT. This is a great pleasure, and thank you for inviting me. I want to acknowledge and welcome our keynote speaker, Mr. Tiwari, as well as our honorable guest, the Higher Education Secretary from the Minister of Education. It's really a very impressive environment where the Higher Education Secretary, Sri Sanjay Marty, is joining us for an event of this type. Welcome to the student ambassadors, to all the colleagues from NITIE and IIT who are supporting this class, and of course to all the participants. Let me say just a few words about the class, but in particular the environment in which we are all facing in general and also in supply chain over the last 3 to 4 years. And I'll make a few observations and connect this with what we are doing at MIT, given these types of environment. As Professor Tiwari mentioned a few minutes ago, in the last 3 to 4 years, we have seen dramatic disruption into day-to-day life, business, and supply chain, starting with the US-China trade war, moving into COVID, moving into the war in Ukraine, all the way to the impact of inflation and oil price on life and on business and supply chain. All this disruption requires companies, requires executives to rethink many of their supply chain strategies and supply chain footprint. This, in my opinion, is an enormous opportunity for a country like India. Let me repeat. What is happening right now is an enormous opportunity for a country like India to compete effectively in business, but in particular in supply chain. But competition today is not around low-cost manufacturing. It's not around low-cost delivery. It's all about the ability to effectively use data, analytics, and automation to make an impact on business performance, whether it is revenue, cost, profit, customer experience. It's all about data-driven decision-making and data-driven supply chain strategies. To leverage this opportunity, I suggest, I will make an observation that institute like NITIE, IITs can follow what is done in other places. At MIT, to leverage this opportunity, we created a partnership between academia, industry, and government to lead the way into business transformation. At MIT, I lead the MIT Data Science Lab. The MIT Data Science Lab is created in exactly that spirit, bringing together different government, together with industries and academic leaders to help transform businesses. The Data Science Lab is cross-industry. We have partners in a variety of industries, from oil and gas to retail, to financial services, to customer CPG, manufacturing companies, high tech, retail, software companies and consulting companies, and our footprint is quite wide, from supply chain resiliency with not only papers and ideas, but implementation that help companies identify hidden risk in their business. Technology for price optimization, for inventory, transportation, and procurement decision. The example that Professor Tiwari just gave about my paper on combining transportation decision and process flexibility to improve last mile delivery is a beautiful example, in my opinion, of what came out of this partnership that allow companies to improve business performance and to improve customer experience. Focusing on supply chain digitization and online resource allocation, all of this help us both develop new concepts, educate new leaders, and transform and make an impact on business and policy decision making. And I will just close by making one observation. As Professor Tiwari can tell you, in April of this year, in a report coming out of the President of the US Economic Task Force, this is a report that goes to Congress to motivate and change public policy. In this report, the author cited the work that was done at MIT around supply chain resiliency and how it can transform businesses and allow government, companies to better respond to the changes that we see in the market. So think about what I'm describing. Not every day you see decision makers at the highest level using what comes out of academia as a way to motivate new policy and new decision making. I hope that this small engagement that we have together between IIT, NITIE, MIT can help accelerate the same process in a country like India. And if we can make a small impact on the way the Indian market compete, that will be a testimonial to what these two institutes, IIT and NITIE, have been able to accomplish. Thank you so much, and I'm looking forward for this class.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor David, for your insightful words. It is always an honor and an enriching experience to hear from you. Now I welcome Mr. Saurabh Tiwari, the Senior Director, Supply Chain, CIPLA, SAGA, to give the keynote speech. Prior to joining CIPLA, Mr. Saurabh has worked at several Indian and multinational companies such as Marico, Mars, DIGU, PepsiCo, and Mondelez, gaining expertise across sectors like pharmaceutical, medical devices, consumer, and food industries. After having completed his postgraduate from NITIE in 1999, he has had 23 years of experience and mastered domain expertise in end-to-end supply chain management and procurement, including strategic sourcing and procurement, demand and supply planning, logistics and distribution, and customer service. He has shown over the years that he is a capable leader with a strategic and innovative mindset with a track record of promoting organizational progress through talent development and creation of tangible values. Saurabh sir, now I request you to share a few words with the participants.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Director Tiwari, for this lovely opportunity of being with this wonderful set of delegates. Absolute pleasure to always come back to NITIE and connect with people across the world. My heartiest compliments to IIT BHU Varanasi and NITIE for coming and thinking about this very interesting and innovative digital platform to deliver a topical choice of data-driven supply chain transformation. Indeed, a pleasure here to be part of this kickoff session today. And I wish all the delegates do make the full use of this wonderful faculty that you have, a global world-class faculty. My recent experience of digital and learning by this model is it allows you the flexibility to be wherever you are and learn at the pace at which you want to learn, and nothing could be better. My experience is also that we tend to get distracted with our day-to-day work, and we end up trying to do multitasking when we are in digital learning program. I would recommend take this time, invest in yourself, and remember the 70-20-10 principle. 70% on the job, 20% coaching and mentoring, and 10% classroom. So this is the 10% classroom that is very, very critical to sharpen the skills in supply chain, which is changing at a very dramatic pace. My intention of this keynote speaker today would be to give you a sense of what has CIPLA done in the world of digital supply chain, and also for you to think about more broadly of how much is possible when you link technology with supply chain. It's almost like saying supply chain without digital is only a mission which has got no vision. And a supply chain who's thinking that they can achieve what they want to do without digital can only remain a dream, but not convert into reality. If we can just go ahead to the next couple of slides, I just want to give a sense of what is digital supply chain going to do to the world. So let's go ahead. Let's go ahead. So I'll give you a sense of how do you want to start looking at your supply chain? What is it that a data-driven supply chain transformation can do to our organizations? Finding the right tools and technologies, and thinking about a framework for driving transformation in your supply chain, and some of the benefits and impact that digital supply chain is seeing across different industries. If you can go to the next slide. So what we started off within SAGA, and SAGA stands for South Africa Global Access, which is one of the 4 business geographies that we have within CIPLA, apart from India, North America, and emerging markets. That it all starts with a vision. It all starts with a dream. And what we said was that we want to be a supply chain, which is a trusted business partner, by building a supply chain which is customer focused, innovative, technology and data driven, and is built on the pillars of agility, reliability, resilience, and velocity. And once we had this vision in place, it was very natural that we had to start looking at resilience that we spoke about earlier in some of the words that Professor Tiwari said and Professor Jain said as well. And then also start looking at visibility as a key pillar of what's critical in supply chains of today. Let's move to the next slide. So if you really start looking at what can data supply chain transformation do to your organization, and you look at the 2 tables at the bottom, which talk about the from and the to, a lot of times supply chains are seen as cost center in the organization. But if you have the right level of visibility, agility, and reliability, it is very easy that supply chain starts really driving competitive advantage. And we saw this in South Africa supply chain when some of our competition was getting disrupted during supply chains, either on active pharma ingredients or on the last mile of execution. We were able to de-risk some of our supply chains and convert that to a competitive advantage. It showed up in the growth and the margin that we had on some of our products, but also showed up in increased market shares on where we were able to get to the market faster than competition. The second critical piece that starts happening is that you not only start looking at collaboration within the organization, but the entire ecosystem gets connected. And when the ecosystem gets connected, you start getting visibility, and visibility starts driving transparency that builds trust. And that is so critical in a supply chain. The third element that starts happening is around capability. And you start again looking at the entire ecosystem and start building capability ahead of the curve around people, processes, and technology. And finally, around data. So supply chain is often guilty of doing a lot of data analysis, but at times we miss the piece about converting that into insights and then finally driving decisions. A data which doesn't show insights and doesn't drive decisions is only half the battle won. And when we start driving digital transformation in supply chains, we start converting data into decision-driven insights. Let's go to the next slide, please. So here is a framework in which you can start thinking about how to convert data into business value. And some of the key process areas or performance areas that you want to start looking at is around transparency, communication, collaboration, flexibility, and responsiveness. And wherever you are within your supply chain maturity, you will obviously have an opportunity for you to get to the next level of digital supply chain ecosystem. You can build transparency by having a complete integrated view of supply chain, right from the incoming material to manufacturing to distribution, final delivery to customer. We can have communication which is visible at the click of a button to everyone in the organization, and people don't have to spend time on spreadsheets just to bring data together. It can drive higher, greater collaboration by making sure that the various inputs which are required across the value chain are available. On flexibility, it's about really understanding the customer demand and being able to adapt both your products and your route to market to drive flexibility. And then finally, the world in supply chain today is around responsiveness and adaptability. How fast can you look at an input that comes into the supply chain, and how fast can you process and execute it to results? Let's go to the next slide. So let's take an example of what are some of the things that we've been doing at Cipla, and also how you could look at the supply chain moving from a startup in digital to a follower to a digital champion. And within the last few years that I have been at Cipla, we've already drawn the journey of looking at sales and operations planning process to start talking about integrated business planning, start getting into supply chain stimulation, looking at real-time visibility of data. And now what we're working on is an integrated demand and supply cockpit, which at the click of a button can tell us where a product is in the entire chain of manufacturing and how does a demand and supply click. And we can then start doing scenario analysis on how different demand levels can have an impact on inventory and what can do to production planning. When you start looking at distribution, it's really about looking at how can we bring robotics process automation within our distribution chain, and how can we start looking at the last mile of execution and see that something is picked up by the customer and we get a trigger of manufacturing in our supply chain. And then from a procurement standpoint, the world is now moving towards machine learning in terms of source to pay and looking at the blockchain ecosystem on how can we have more efficient contracting. So those are some of the ways in which I would invite you as you go through this course to look at where we are in the digital supply chain journey and how can you move from a novice to a follower to a champion wherever you are. And I'm sure with professors like Professor Tiwari here, Dr. David here, and Professor Jain here, you will have a clear visibility of what does it mean to move from where you are to the next level. Let's go to the next slide. So we've been talking about some of these technologies. I won't go into all of the details, but it's important to distinguish at what time do you want to use artificial intelligence to look at data in new ways? Where do you want to look at machine learning to understand sophisticated algorithms, which can bring new patterns of data, which will drive decision making? Professor Jain talked about analytics. How do you really look at tools and systems, both inside and the outside organization? And we are beginning to use blockchains to drive smart contracts to track our payments. Let's go ahead. So the final piece would be about how do you start thinking about digital supply chain transformation? It all starts, like we've been talking about, defining your business goals and strategy, because ultimately whatever you do in supply chain needs to either have an impact on top line, your bottom line, or the working capital. From there, you drive your supply chain strategy, and then you say, what's the role of digital in that? Define the supply chain operating and governance model, and then get into execution, which is really about how procurement, manufacturing, supply chain really come together. And then finally, you have a technology which enables the execution and visibility right from your strategy towards the execution that finally creates the impact on business. Let's go ahead. So finally, just bringing it all together, what are some of the impacts that supply chains have seen? And I'll just talk about pharma in the interest of time. That what we've seen is that we've now been able to make our processes more stable because we are able to assess risk in our supply chain and be able to see them early. So we now have visibility of what kind of inventories do our suppliers hold for us. And we are able to see what kind of a disruption in China, either on logistics or on COVID, will mean how long will it take for us to recover in the supply chain. And Professor David talked about it earlier, saying how much time will your supply chain, if disrupted, take the time to come back. And those are some of the things that we've been started doing on our APIs. From a planning standpoint, we are able to pick up demand signals early. So what happened in COVID? Suddenly people stopped moving out of the house, which means a natural winter, which will see a lot of cold and flu, did not happen because people are not out there. So nobody's falling ill. And suddenly you have a greater need of antibiotics and respiratory, which typically because of COVID got triggered. And that meant our entire demand statistical forecasting went for a toss. So we had to then rely on customer offtake to see what product is really moving out in the market and bring that information back early, saying, okay, it's respiratory and antibiotics which is moving and cold and flu is not moving. And that is a flexibility we needed to create in procurement and manufacturing from a capacity standpoint to be able to pick up this and respond faster. That's one of the ways in which you really see how an integrated supply chain enabled by digital can make an impact. I'll take a stop over here. Just wishing all the students over here, and we are still learning, right? We can say we are 20 years into supply chain, but we are still learning. All of us are students. Wish you a very exciting course. Do make the full use of it. This is not a faculty that comes together. So wish you all the best, and look forward to hearing some good stories as we go along the way. Back to you, team. Thank you so much, Professor, for having me here today.
Thank you, Saurabh. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. NITIE has always embraced its ethos of turning first-class engineers to world-class managers, and in the same spirit, it has conducted several global online certification courses on supply chain and data analytics domains. Through these courses, we have trained the students from all IIMs and IITs, among other top B schools in India. We will always continue to strive to provide quality education programs to aspiring learners from across the world. On the topic of education, I feel it is fitting to now invite Sri Sanjay Murthy IAS, Secretary of Higher Education of India. He was earlier the CEO and MD of NICDC Limited. He has a vast and varied experience of more than 30 years in power, urban development, information broadcasting, information technology, and education sector in both the Government of India and Government of Himachal Pradesh in various capacities. On his deputation to the Government of India, he has served in the Ministry of Environment and Forest and Ministry of Communications and IT. He has also served in the National Institute of Smart Government (NISG), assisting states and central government ministries in their e-governance initiatives. We thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation and gracing the event with your presence. It is our honor to have you with us today. Sanjay Murthy, sir, the stage is yours to share your thoughts.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for this invitation, Professor Tiwari and Professor Jain. Professor David Levy, also, thank you for joining in once again. I think I met you a couple of months back. Thank you again for conducting this course. Mr. Tiwari,
Yes.
who's just finished his presentation. I think it was quite enlightening to see that one. Since the time we met last, and for the students who have joined us, I had in the last interaction mentioned about the government's initiative about Gatishakti. Now, this program, I had requested Professor Manoj Tiwari to see that this details of this initiative of the government is articulated and brought to you students in a much more meaningful that with this course, there might be some elements of that program which have been shared with you. Now, while sharing this impact or impasse of that program, it's of such a large scale. It talks to you about what type of integration is happening at the central level with the participation of more than 16 ministries and all the state governments. So whether it is a person who is making an investment in a location, any supply chain entity which is wanting to look at data to see what better efficiencies can be generated, I think the platform will be providing a great avenue for large number of research opportunities and learnings to be done while going forward. Now, while this platform has been developed by BISAC N, I think Professor Tiwari and his team are in talks with them to see how we can have this platform open to students to enable them to work on it and also suggest better solutions or better applications in their own domains or in the geographies that they're working on. So I'm sure that once we have more programs like this percolating down the line to more institutions, today I'm told that a large number of IIT BHU students as well as NITIE students along with other institutions have joined the program. I think this is the way collaborations should work. The expertise and the collaborations that NITIE has developed over the years, I think should be brought forward to the students of other institutions through this collaborative network that Professor Tiwari has done. If it is IIT BHU today, I think he should go forward and collaborate with more number of institutions to see that the impact of these lessons that Professor David and his team conduct reaches a large network of people, because the problems and the solutions that are there in front of us are immense. And I think addressing students of a batch of 1,500 or so will be a drop in the ocean to type of the expertise that we require to develop as a country. And I think it is with Professor David Lewis that you will have to design courses which can reach out to greater number of people. Now, if for that purpose, I should take the example of IIT Madras, which in its data analytical course has created a platform and reaches out to 15,000 children at one go in one program. And there is also a touch-based program in that program of theirs. Entry is free, anyone can join it. There are only certain conditions in which that has to be fulfilled. So to Professor David, this is my request to you to kindly see how you could leverage the IT platform to see that you reach out to greater number of students who will be keenly interested in such type of a program and would like to collaborate with the government or with the departments working in various sectors which have some linkages with logistics in their workspace. So having made this request to you, we'll look forward to you to, work closely with us to see how this can be further leveraged. As far as the government is concerned, we would like to assure you that through Professor Tiwari and his institutions, we are trying to collaborate with n number of institutions. I think he has already roped in 23, 25 institutions. But that effort will go on to see that we add more institutions in the place, to see that this can be this learning on this experience can be shared with a larger number of students and faculty. But having said that, now I come back to what the students might experience from this lecture of yours or the curriculum that is being part in this training. The figures and statistics might have already been given to you about the cost of logistics in the country vis-a-vis the developing world. So you'll realize that there is a lot of ground to be covered by us. And you would like to know how does one contribute to this? This platform of Gatishakti provides you that opportunity. If you are able to do a project, we are urging all the state governments to see that while they use this platform for planning their projects, to also look at the existing cases of how inefficiencies might have been built in and how do you need to improve them. So there is a strong message from the government to ensure that all educational institutions, higher education institutions, work closely with governments, both at state, at the local municipality level, as well as at the industry level, to see how the young students of us can get or provide better solutions for existing problems that are being done, which is leading to this inefficiencies in our economy. So I'm sure that these opportunities that will open up, if each of these academic institutions are willing to go and give a project to these students in association with these municipalities, industries, and governments, I'm sure it gives them a good hands-on experience and will enrich their learning to apply what they are told in theory in your class, to apply it in the field in a real model setting. So I think the initiatives that are being taken by NITIE and with IIT BHU, I'm sure that we will see much more traction in academia as well as industry collaborating together to see how we can work together to improve this very big problem that we have on our hands. And I'm sure once as this goes forward during the year, we will have a greater number of participation in that area. So, I mean, this is all that I would like to share. And I thank you for the opportunity that you have given me again today, and wish all the students who have enrolled to kindly be curious and explore this Gati Shakti initiative of the government and see how you can use that to see it in your daily life or in your daily work, how that can be used to build in better efficiencies in the work that you are doing. Thank you so much.
So thank you, Honorable Secretary, sir, that you have found out finally time, sir, and given us your such a apt and timely advice to all of us, because as you are driving, sir, many what you call principal themes of the government, And this one is very much apt, and I'm sure that this will be called game changer scheme, particularly to minimize the logistic cost, which will go a long way to help the country with respect to control the prices, as well as making the international market more amenable to our small scale manufacturers. So, sir, here just I want to tell to all my students who are attending this course, as well participants and industry friends. Professor David, you know very well that recently our Honorable Secretary Sir has driven a very good move actually that the Government of India has launched our new National Education Policy. And in that policy, sir, more than thousands of the university institutions are there. And sir, he has taken a field task actually that how the different components of that policy should be implemented, and such a down-to-earth person that almost all the stream of the academicians and researchers were there in holy city of Varanasi, where this IIT BHU belongs. So sir was one of the leading person to organize that kind of function. And sir, we are very much indebted to you for coming to this platform and giving us such advice. Now I request Professor Jain and Professor David to say a few words, and then we go to the closure of ceremony. So please, Professor David, sir.
Thank you, Professor Tiwari, and thank you, the Minister of Education. This was an impressive statement. I want to just reiterate what you said. It's really about a partnership between government, academia, and industry that allow a country, a region, an economy to transform itself. And with all the changes that we see, the technology, the platforms that you provided, the partnerships that you are sponsoring, these can make an enormous difference. Of course, we are doing it here on a small scale. I would love to be engaged. Let me reiterate on your request. I would love to engage in a larger scale technology transformation, larger scale transforming and helping young people from a variety of professions and industries to learn about how data analytics and automation can make a big impact on their life and on their business and business development. And so if there is an opportunity for me in my small ability to help, I would love to participate. Thank you so much.
Professor Jain. Yes.
Thank you, Professor Tiwari. Thank you, Professor David and Honorable Shri Sanjay Murthy ji. I think this is a great opportunity for us to start this global online certification program. And we are actually talking about to launch many more such programs. And side by side, as you said, that it is very much required these days to take supply chain management concepts from the classrooms to the field, so that students can explore what are the realities and how the supply chain networks in reality need to be managed and maintained. And I think these courses with the focus of data analytics, AI and machine learning will be a kind of eye opener for them. And we with NITIE are in fact collaborating in many ways. We are starting one school of decision sciences and engineering here in the campus, which will focus primarily on supply chain management, covering the medical, pharmaceutical, healthcare systems, agriculture, manufacturing, and side by side, for example, say the defense sector. So I think this will be a kind of good collaboration between NITIE and IIT BHU. And as you said that Gatishakti program needs many more engineers, technocrats to learn the real aspects of supply chain management. Actually, everybody has to know about the concepts of supply chain management because supply chain touches everybody's life. Every day we see hundreds or thousands of, movements of material, products, anything around us. So everybody should understand the concepts of supply chain and management. And I think NITI and we together will do much more in days to come to launch such many such programs. Thank you, sir, for supporting us and giving us the guidelines. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, Sanjay ji, for coming and giving us this kind of message, sir. And we will work on it and ensure that PM Gatishakti will be totally implemented in the way you want, sir. And David's support will be there, sir.
So if I can request you kindly work out some mechanism, and then we can have a joint meeting with Professor David.
Yes, sure. I will work out. I will work out. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Namaskar.
Take care, sir. Take care. Take care. Take care. Thank you, sir. Ashi?
I thank all chief guests for such inspiring and encouraging words. We at NITIE and IIT BHU will continue to add more value to businesses and help them make their presence felt globally. Now I invite our faculty coordinator, Professor Ajinkya, for the vote of thanks.
Respected dignitaries, enthusiastic participants, my dear colleagues and students, a very good evening to one and all. I am Dr. Ajinkya Tangsade, Assistant Professor at IIT BHU. I take this opportunity to express our heartfelt gratitude to everyone who have made the launch of this unique course possible in every way. First and foremost, I would like to thank Professor David Simchi-Levi for kindly accepting our invitation to convene this course after completing 6 successful global online certification courses with NITIE in the past year. We are sure that our participants would be enriched by his unique teaching style, backed by case studies and real-life examples. Thank you, Professor Simchi-Levi. We are privileged to have you on board with us once again. We are thankful to our honorable chief guest, Shri Sanjay Murthy, Higher Education Secretary, Ministry of Education, for gracing this event with his presence and enlightening with us his words of wisdom, for providing us glimpses into major activities of Government of India, especially Gatishakti program, and giving great suggestions for the future. Thank you, sir, for giving excellent start to this course. We extend our gratitude to our keynote speaker, Mr. Saurabh Tiwari, Senior Director of Supply Chain, Cipla Saga. We feel honored to have heard your enlightening words for this course. Thank you for coming forth with your gracious support. We are very much thankful to all our course participants for showing an overwhelming response to this course and believing in collaboration of NITIE and IIT BHU, the 2 institutes of national importance. We look forward to engaging with you all over this course duration in next month. As always, it's a matter of pride for us that this course has been launched, marketed, and is being conducted completely in-house by the teams by NITIE and IIT BHU. We are incredibly grateful to Professor Manoj Kumar Tiwari, Director NITIE, and Professor P.K. Jain, Director IIT BHU, under whose visionary leadership and guidance the launch of this course has been possible again. We sincerely thank the I-DAPT Hub of IIT BHU for funding and the financial support. Our thanks are also due to Professor Vikash Kumar Dubey, Dean R&D of IIT BHU, for his untiring efforts towards this course. We thank all our deans, registrars, professor in charges, various officers, staff members of academia, industry connect, media relations, and the directors' offices of both the institutes for having mobilized all resources needed for this program. I thank our task force that was led by faculty coordinators, Dr. Priyanka Verma, Dr. Rofin, Dr. Maheshwar, and Dr. Megha from NITIE side, and Dr. Saurabh, Dr. Lakshay, Dr. Agnivesh from IIT BHU side. We especially thank our student team, Chibi, Rutvik, Prashant, Nishant, Ayushi, Giriraj from NITIE, and Ishwar, Shubham, and Nikhil from IIT BHU side, who are handling the end-to-end execution of this entire course and have brought the data-driven innovation, unparalleled creativity, and professionalism in the launch and execution of this course. We also thank the research scholars who have contributed to this course, Rosalind and Ronnie. We are grateful to the entire NITIE and IIT BHU community for their continued engagement and support. So with this, I remain, and over to you, Ayushi. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Before ending the session, I request all panelists to turn on their cameras for a photograph. Thank you, everyone. Dear participants, Please note that from tomorrow onwards, we will be having the lectures on WebEx platform at the usual time from 5 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. The lecture links have been shared with you over mail, and all further communications will take place through the same registered email ID. We have also shared the link of the course website where we will upload all the supplementary material for the course. We will be sharing it once again with you. Please mark it for future reference. Also, if you have any queries, please reach out to us. We are looking forward to our association for the next 1 month, and we are sure that there will be a lot of learnings for you through this course. Please note that we will take a 10-minute break and post start first lecture.
So I think there is a break of 10 minutes, and then we will again assemble for the regular classes as Professor David is going to start. So Jain Sahab, thank you very much for being with us, and everybody from your side. And Saurabh Tiwari ji, thank you very much for giving such a nice talk. And Professor David, as usual, that you are ours. So I think we totally depends on your expertise and everything for such kind of courses. Thank you very much, sir. So we are meeting after 10 minutes, sir. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, sir.